Okay.
I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled Sylvania Township Trustee meeting, February 21st at 5:09.
Call the roll. Mr. Crandall?
Here.
Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Genowine?
Here.
Mr. Simcoe? Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have to admit I haven't had a chance to read the February 7th minutes. Have they been sent out? I don't know if I've seen them or were they? I apologize. Could we, I'd like to offer a motion to approve the December 20th, 2016 minutes. And if we could postpone the other ones so I get a chance to look at them, I'd appreciate it.
Second on the 20th?
You call the roll. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes. Do we have any additions or deletions to the meeting this evening?
Yes, I have one deletion under the police department, resolution 1722. I'd like to put that on hold. We've had current discussions now with the insurance company that might be reconsidering whether they are going to total the vehicle out or repair it. So those are still in progress. So at this point, we don't need that resolution to replace that vehicle yet until we settle with the insurance company.
Okay. Okay. Hearing of the public, did anyone sign in?
No.
Okay. Zoning department.
Good evening. I have two monthly reports. First one being December 2016. We ended the month with 24 permits at an estimated value of $8.7 million. We ended the year with 449 permits and an estimated value of just under $47.8 million. You can see that's down from the previous 2 years. Single-family dwellings, we ended up just a little bit better than the previous year with 100 single-family dwellings, single-family dwelling permits, and that was a value of $26.3 million. If you go down a little bit more, Scott. Yeah, thank you. You can see what our big hitters were there as far as the single-family dwellings. Of the 100, 27 of them are from Doug Howard Builders, Cumberland Construction 12, Buckeye Real Estate 9, and Woodland Custom Homes 9. So far we've got a good year in 2017. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but we have yet to hear from our heavy hitters. I think Cumberland Construction, we've had one so far this year, and Doug Howard, we haven't even had any yet, so hopefully they're still going to be coming in. Zoning complaints for December. We had 11 for the month and 242 for the year. It was a 14% increase on the year. And then monthly meetings for the month of December, we had the Board of Zoning Appeals had a variance request on Mitchell Road for a pond, and that was approved. And then conditional use request for a residential care facility, and that was on Sylvania Avenue, that was also approved. I'm sorry, the pond request was denied. Zoning Commission, they heard the zone change request for 6805 Sylvania Avenue and recommended approval on that. And we had one project plan review for Vision Associates, and that's for their new office on Meyer Drive. That's all I have for the December report, unless there's any questions.
Your question on that 5 acres, were you maybe looking at a change on those acreage for 5 acres for ponds?
Yes, that's been submitted to the Lucas County Plan Commission. That'll be before them at the end of March to reduce that to 3 acres.
Okay, so that guy can come back and reapply?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
My monthly report for January, definitely a strong month in permits, 37 for the month at an estimated value of $6.5 million. And you can see that just totally blew away the previous 2 years. On single-family dwellings, again, a strong start. We're at 10 versus 5 for the previous year, and estimated value of $3.8 million versus just under $0.9 million for 2016. So I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's great for the time being. Zoning complaints, again, a strong start, if that's the way to word complaints. 19 for the month versus 6 for last year and 3 for the year before. Some of that is due to Dean, our compliance officer, doing sweeps. That 6 of those 19 are from sweeps, but 13 of them are from complaints. Monthly meetings for zoning. Al Hayes was elected chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Tim Schlachter was elected vice chairman. They're retaining the first Monday of the month at 5 p.m. as the meeting time for the BZA. Variance request for a pond on less than 5 acres was approved. That's the one that I was thinking of on the last month one. Conditional use for a semi-public use, that's the Chabad House on King Road. It was approved at their meeting last week, but at the January 26th meeting, they closed the public hearing, but they didn't render their decision until last week. The Zoning Commission re-elected Mary Himline and John King as chair and vice chair, respectively, and also retained second Wednesdays of the month at 6 p.m. as their meeting days and times. We had no project plan review in January. And then there's a few items of note. I'll let you read those over. That's pretty much my monthly report, unless you have any questions.
Darrell, a lot of times we get complaints or concerns that our meetings are too early at 5 o'clock for many of the residents to attend who have an interest in a zoning. Do you think that's wise to have the BZA meetings at 5 p.m. as well? I mean, are we eliminating the bulk of the people from getting here, or do you see any concerns for that, or what have they been in the past?
I mean, every year they discuss their meeting schedule, and that's what they've agreed upon. They've had it that for several years. The zoning commission has
You weren't on the
discussed
BZA,
that.
were you?
No.
I don't know. Does anybody else have any concerns with that, or?
Are they getting any complaints from people that are coming to the meeting?
Well, I think we had complaints of it, that was my,
Oh,
5 o'clock's a tough meeting to make, and I do think the zoning is where the rubber hits the road with our community, and I don't know.
More often than not, it's the zoning commission that gets the larger crowds than the BZA. Typically, the BZA, it's the applicant, and that's about it. Now, the Chabad House issue was an exception, but generally, we don't have much of a crowd at those meetings.
Okay.
But I think you brought up a good point last month, or month before, was if we have a big zoning issue. I mean, I see it looks like there's one coming down the pipe for Senum.
Yeah.
That'd be one that maybe we just have that as our only agenda item.
We could do a special meeting for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We conduct so much other business here, I think that's more of the problem with the other two boards. They usually just have 1 or 2 items.
We'll keep it for 5 and see if we get complaints or concerns and
Well,
take it from there.
I thought it had been decided that it would be 6 o'clock
We
if
did.
there was a zone
Yeah.
change, right, on a trustees meeting.
I was just looking at the BZA, that was my
Right.
question on it, so, okay. Anybody have any questions for Darrell, or have any?
Let's hope the January pace keeps up.
I think it will keep up with the weather.
More work for you.
Thanks, Darrell.
Thank you.
Rob?
Good evening. I have two items on the agenda. December's monthly report being the first item. During the month of December, we're still primarily picking up leaves, of course. This did coincide. We did push the leaf pickup back 2 weeks, so it pushed us further even into January. But we were picking leaves up and breaking down equipment in parts of the equipment we could break down or needed to break down to go into snow and ice control. As December 11th, we received a 10-inch of snow storm, so as you can see in item E there, we did have significant overtime. And for the road department, when we have significant overtime, that just primarily means most of the storm was during the weekend. So it wasn't anything abnormal, it's just that particular storm hit on a weekend caused that. We did do some brining, pre-treating of the roads prior to. Our locates for OOPS, as you can see, is 20 out of the 184 tickets. It just means we actually had to go out and flag and mark 20 locations versus doing it on the computer. We did have some mailbox repairs due to the snow, the 10 inches of snow that we had to go out and replace and repair some of those as well. In the service department, you can see the miscellaneous items there. I don't list them all by item, but some of the equipment that did get repaired, other than just normal services and oil changes. And then the maintenance department, he did the fire inspections for the month. You can see on the end of the year there, December, the projects list. Most of those are complete. The OPWC project, the resurfacing project. We did some curb repairs. The Huntington Storm Sewer project was a nice addition to that area, and that was a reimbursed project through the Stormwater Utility District. We did some ADA upgrades in preparation for this year's resurfacing project that are required by law in the St. James Wood areas, and we were able to get some done in Maple Creek and Brookstone Village, which would be in preparation for the 2018 and 19 reconstruction or resurfacing projects. And then you can see in 6 some miscellaneous drainage improvements we did, as well as our crack seal program that we do every year. So that was the tally of projects for 2016. If no questions on that, I'll move into January.
What about that Indian Ridge project there? Storm sewer?
The Indian Ridge Storm Sewer Extension, we never did complete that.
That'll carry over?
That'll carry over, and we're still evaluating that. That's part of the ditch project and the extension that actually carries all the way through to Riga and Friedley. I believe that's called the Merriman
So
Ditch.
you got an outlet, you got another project?
Yes, sir. They're all connected up in that area and then north of Alexis there. Any other questions? Second item on the agenda is January's monthly report. As I stated, we are still in the middle of leaf pickup, and that ran from 17 October to January 24th of 2017. We did have the Christmas tree drop-off during that time period as well after Christmas, and we concluded that seemed to be successful. We'd have quite a few trees in there every morning. We'd come in. That ended February 1st. We pre-treated roads as well, had some snow and ice control events during the month. It's been a light month and unusually warm weather, as you guys all know. It makes for difficulty in planning with your snow and ice equipment and salt tonnage usage. And as of right now, we're sitting very well with our salt dome, and we have some in storage that we have access to when needed. Continued some of the mailbox repairs. We did do a storm sewer repair on Cheney, one on Friedley. which is a continuing problem that we're looking at. The Lucas County engineers providing us some drainage plans for that area for 2018 or 19 projects. And we had a couple tree removals due to the storm. They fell down and picked up, cleaned up. And the service department, again, you can see routine fleet maintenance. A good bulk of the work was getting those leaf loaders put away. They were pretty well beat up. There'll be significant cost this year for replacement parts on them. We got a tally of all that information and what we'll need to order for those before they were put away. And then the new police build on 2017 still ongoing, should be complete this week if it wasn't done today. And then miscellaneous repairs on the fire road and the rest of the police vehicles. Maintenance did have some call-ins as well. He particularly comes in just for police sidewalks and their parking lot area. Page 2. These are some of the new projects scheduled for this year. 1.36 miles in the OPWC resurfacing project. Those roads are primarily, they all are in St. James Wood area. And that project's already bid and sold. The second resurfacing project consists of area off of McCord Road, just to the north of Central there, Wood Lake area. And there's a side street back there off of Central, Fairbanks, and Fantasy Drive. They connect to each other. Primary heavy use for the car lots and that industry back in there, so that'll get resurfaced as well. I did send the notification to the stakeholder property owners in that area to let them know that we will be doing this project, and when it came closer to give them another notification for any inconvenience for their deliveries and automobile issues or sales. There's also, I believe the Karnick Inn is back there. And it's all commercial. So, I also identified that the private drive that accesses from Central Avenue to Fantasy Drive, it's called New Car Drive. I identified that as it's in need of repair. It is not a public road. It's not part of our maintenance system, but it is traveled primarily by the public as well. And just to notify the dealerships that if they wanted to try and contact the vendor who wins the bid on that, they might get a reasonable price while they're in the area to resurface and do any construction work on that road as well. Some of the other areas, the crack seal program set in place this year, we'll bid with Lucas County Engineers Office, and they will do the inspection on that for us. That's pretty much I have for the January's report. Do you have any questions on that?
It's good, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Chief? Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You have before you have the December, Scott? Is the December one in there? Should be. Okay. You should have had the December one. I apologize for that. You want me to go with the December or just January? Gotcha. January monthly report. You'll see that our total reports, our total incidents are running just a little bit above where we were last year, and that's common. January and February is usually pretty big months for us. Page 4 is our mutual aid response. You'll see that we actually gave more mutual aid and automatic aid than we received this time, and that's unusual again for us. 4 mutual aid responses that we had were all on the expressways with Springfield Township. They had accidents in their area on the expressways, which would be south of Bancroft is where those incidents happened. On page 5 is our medic unit. We had 45 responses with the medic unit. We transported 40 people. Again, when we first put it in service, we looked at, I predicted about one a day. We're running still a little bit over one a day. Gives you the breakdown as far as districts go, which district had the most runs, and then which hospitals we went ahead and transported to. The majority of our patients go to Flower Hospital. Page 6, community risk reduction. We did 10 inspections or re-inspects. That's just finishing up what we had left over from last year. Some of the crews had to re-inspect a couple places that they weren't able to get into in December. We had an incident where we had a family that were sick with carbon dioxide poisoning. We ended up transporting them to the hospital. We identified that they couldn't have a CO detector, so we bought one for them and put it in their house, so they have some protection there. We had 7 plan reviews, 2 license inspections, 6 final acceptance, and 2 individual state inspections. On our training, finished up the driver's training for our Engine 61, which should go in service within the next week. All the radios and the equipment has been mounted in that vehicle. Everybody's been taken through the driver's training, pump operations. We had 1,080 hours of training during the month of January to try to get that all handled and completed. And on page 8, you'll see that we had 237 hours of overtime. We did send 10 individuals on duty to the CE sessions downtown at Lucas County. We're continuing to do that in the month of February and March, as the staffing will allow. And that's all I have on the report.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Bowman? Oh, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Jim.
How are you? I'm doing the monthly report for January. I also have the yearly report, but I don't know if Scott has it, so. You do have the yearly? Okay. Yeah, we'll do the yearly first then. Okay. Put my glasses on. For the month of December of last year, our dispatch center took in 7,524 calls to the communications center, and they entered 2,145 warrants. Next page. For the year-to-date, for the whole year then, we had 14,146 calls for service, which is slightly down from the year before. We had 606 property damage crashes, which is the exact same as the year before. We had 177 injury accidents, which is, again, a slight decrease from the year prior. And we did have 1 fatality, which is a substantial decrease from the year before. We had 83 burglaries, which is slightly down, 7 robberies, which is down 50%, 63 identity thefts, which is roughly the same, 664 thefts, which is significantly down, and all others, 1,347, which again is down significantly from the year prior. Next page, the prisoner transport cost. For the year, we spent $427.85 as the cost for transporting the prisoners from Sylvania City to and from court. We'll go on to page, let's go to page 8. This is the community affairs section. We had 90 graduates of Safety Town for the year and 344 graduates of the DARE program. We had 2,475 and a half hours of training for all police personnel for the whole year. And I believe...
Jim, do you mind scrolling up 2 slides there? Just the detective,
Yes.
okay, all right, there you go, okay. Great, thanks.
Do you need any explanation on that, or?
You don't know, I don't know if is your detective information in the final report for the year, what we had for claims and losses? If not now tonight, but just, next time, like a report.
Yeah, I don't believe that is included for the whole year.
Trends on that, like to see how we've done for detective open and solve cases over maybe the last couple of years, something like that.
Yep.
That'd be great, thanks.
And I believe that is it for the yearly report for 2016. Any questions? Nope.
Looks good.
All right, we'll move on to the monthly report for 2017. For the month, we had 6,834 total calls come into the dispatch center. Next page, Scott. 986 calls for service, which is down significantly from 2016. 40 property damage accidents, slightly down from the year before. 10 injury accidents, which is roughly the same as the year before. We had 5 burglaries, which is up quite a bit from the year before. 1 robbery, 2 identity thefts, 71 thefts, and 124 others. So we're running roughly the same as the year before. Prisoner transport cost for the month was $394.93, and again, that's to transport Sylvania City's prisoners to and from court. The detective caseload, there was 55 cases assigned to the detectives in the month. 35 of those were cleared, 20 of them remain active. In addition, there was the previous months that they still have that they're still working on, which is the bottom section. They were able to clear 14 of those cases, 14, and you add that all on to the ones that were signed in that month. It's 49 total. Next page on, as you know, we have 1 officer assigned to the DEA task force. So during this month, him and his group were responsible for seizing $401,270 in U.S. currency. And page 10, Scott, will be the overtime. So far for the year for the whole department, we've had 180.42 hours of overtime. Any questions?
I do have one question for Chief Omey. Hey, Chief, where are we at with that, I'm afraid the folks on King Road might show up again. Have we any resolution on the motorcycle stuff that was going on in the back pond back there?
Yeah, I had a meeting with Bob White, I think it was early last week.
Okay, good.
In fact, he, at our meeting in December 21st, after that meeting, he was supposed to get together his understanding, notes of what we had agreed upon.
Okay.
And he got those to me. I made some corrections because it kind of committed us too much, I thought. And he is getting that out to his association.
Okay, do you mind letting us know what you guys agreed upon in case we run into one of them out in public or something like that?
Sure, you want me to tell you now? Or
No, just, email or something's great.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the administrator, and I have a resolution 17025, approval of appointment to the Sylvania Area Sister Cities Commission. And as I understand it now, the Sister Cities is now going to be a commission under the city of Sylvania, and they're looking for members, and we have an appointment to it, and Scott has agreed to be the appointment. I think he was out of the room at the time, but...
Let me quickly make a resolution on this one. I'll have a resolution 17025, approve the appointment of Scott Smith to the Sylvania Sister City Commission. I say that 5 times. Sylvania Sister City.
Is this committing us to anything, or what is?
No, No money or anything.
Presentation.
No, just that he'll be a member on that. He's already the treasurer of the commission, but it's not community money or anything like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, call the roll, Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Crandall.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Cinco, you're up.
Yes, you see the month-end analysis, and there's really not much to say. We've gotten a little bit of money in. We really don't start getting monies until this month, and then the larger slug of our real estate taxes comes in March. And so we, unless you have any questions, kind of move on to resolutions that we have here. Resolution 17-023, and this is one, we have to amend it from what's in your packet, because in that resolution, there's 26,000 some dollars for a police vehicle, and that, you saw that was pulled off the agenda, so I would amend our resolution to just include the second for fire capital projects in the amount of 6,000. That would stay there. So that would be the resolution as amended.
I'll offer Resolution 17023, appropriation from the encumbered balance excluding the police vehicle.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And then next resolution is 17-024, and we've received monies regarding our bulletproof vest grant, and it allows us to return monies advanced to the fire fund. And that's a little over $4,000.
I'll offer Resolution 17-024, return of the advance.
Second.
Excuse me.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And that's all I have.
We have one person who wants to speak on non-agenda items, Mr. Sable.
Good evening. I am Steve Sable. I have been here several times about excessive traffic, speeding by dealership drivers, other drivers, and semi-traffic on Goodhue, which is behind the North Side Central Avenue dealers. You suggested this traffic was going to diminish once Central Avenue was open. It hasn't. The police said that they were going to talk to the dealerships to have their drivers obey speed limits, and if they would not comply, then they would be written tickets. Nothing has changed, so how many tickets have been written? There are semis coming down Goodhue daily and turning south on Warner and parking in a supposedly zoned vacant Kmart lot. These are mainly semis that have nothing to do with the dealerships. Is someone collecting parking fees under the table? Since when was this lot designated a truck stop? Next, there will be illicit activities. These semis have now destroyed the once nice sodded right-of-way edges of Goodhue and crossing intersections, and now there are deep ruts beyond the edge all along Goodhue. Some of the ruts are so deep a semi-trailer could tip over. By the looks of the ruts, utilities and signs are only missed by mere inches from semi-wheels. Do you really think a semi-driver who ignores a no truck sign will stop and identify himself if he knocked over a fire hydrant? These semis destroying Fairbanks and Goodhue intersection and my street are from car carriers. Goodhue is barely wide enough for two passing cars, and a pavement was not meant for semi-weight. The edges are crumbling and the street is uneven. Goodhue needs a good resurfacing, and I don't mean painting the black snake tracks. If you're going to allow semis to drive over the right-of-way and beyond, it seems to me that there must be some ordinance in place that a house or business can only be so far away from street traffic. Are you going to buy all the houses along Goodhue to allow truck traffic, or at least buy some of the property taken away from the homeowners? There is no reason in the world semis need to be driving through this neighborhood. If businesses absolutely need to have semi-deliveries made through my neighborhood, then perhaps you need to pressure the dealerships to buy all the houses in the area. We need no semi-allowed signs posted on Holland, Sylvania, and Goodhue, and on all the streets where houses begin beyond the dealership service center driveways. I have seen some semi-drivers observe the no truck sign on Goodhue in Holland, Sylvania, and either try to back up in the small strip mall driveway on the corner, or I even saw a tanker back up onto Holland, Sylvania. This is extremely dangerous and was idiotic of someone to post a no truck sign down the street after semis have already committed to turn onto Goodhue. We need four-way stop signs all along Goodhue, period. I am awakened every morning at 7 a.m. with the windows closed, listening to vehicles winding through the gears. Because of all the traffic, semi-engine roar, engine braking, do you think you can get Trump to build a sound wall all along Goodhue? Do something. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Salem. When that was brought up, when were you here, 3 months ago? 4 months ago?
I've been here several times.
Yeah, I know, but the last time. Well, whatever the time.
November,
I remember you, and I appreciate you coming back. Chief, did we go talk to, anybody talk to the police or anybody? Did we have anybody go to the dealerships? I thought maybe you might be doing some of that. Chief, did we, Rob, did we do anything? Help us, yeah.
I went down and checked to make sure first the signage was all correct, and it is. There are no through prohibited trucks located on all of the residential streets along Goodhue leading out to Central Avenue. So the proper signage and installation is there. We did send notices to the dealers asking them to not use the streets through there for their carriers, and if they had to go through, I believe it's Mars Road is the first road off of Goodhue. Is that correct? Warner, which is the road that he's mentioning, Mr. Sable's mentioning, that the old Kmart parking lot area is in. But as far as the road department is concerned, that's as far as, our legal action can take us, is the proper signage is there. If they're breaking the law, that's nothing that we can do. One recommendation we could try and do is put the island, part of the reasoning a lot of these trucks are turning is they built that concrete divider island on Holland Sylvania Avenue. And the first road at the end of that concrete divider is Goodhue. And so if they miss a street or they can't get to the westbound lane if the trucks are going eastbound on Central Avenue and they can't turn down Fairbanks at the light because of the no through truck traffic signs, they tend to go down to Holland Sylvania, make a left-hand turn to look for a place to turn around so they can go westbound on Central. Well, the first road they come to is Goodhue, and they take a left there. And then as soon as they take a left, they see the through trucks prohibited sign. We could talk to the county and request them to install a sign on that island on the opposite side of the divider sign. If you're going to the south, if you're heading south on Holland Sylvania, there's the divider sign. We could put one on the back sign for a no through trucks prohibited sign with a left-hand turn and put the name of the thing. I could talk to Ron Myers, the traffic engineer, and that may decrease some of the turning in down to the Goodhue, but I do think some of this is habitual. It's something that the drivers who use that lot frequent it more than once. There is parking from commercial entities as well, meaning more than one vehicle sits in there. I've seen utility companies, tree companies, and other various companies. They tend to park in that parking lot, and I don't have the legal authority to do anything, so it'd be something Chief Bomey could address.
So what's the likelihood of them agreeing to a sign on the island? Because like Mr. Sam was saying, they're pulling in. By the time they get in, they see the sign and they do the conscious thing, back out and go from there.
The county's worked with us on a lot of different issues so far on this because of the Central Avenue project, and I don't foresee that being an issue as long as it's within their legal means to do so. It's got to be the proper signage, and it's got to meet the uniform traffic code. So as long as those two items are met, I believe that Ron would have an issue with installing a sign there in that island median.
What about on the side of Sylvania where they're coming southbound on Sylvania, where they would, you know, let's say they got off at Talmadge, they stopped at, they come around and come southbound, is there no truck sign there that we could, no right turn, truck turn? No
If they're heading south on Sylvania towards Central?
Yes.
There is a sign there. It's not immediately present. We move those signs back from the intersections for a reason, so it's not run over. Plus, there's a commercial lot right there. It's pretty much an all paved area. We could try and move those, that our sign, the township sign, that says no through trucks prohibited. We could try and move that to the east a little bit further. But I think, you know, the bottom line is I think that once they get in that turning lane, they're going to turn. And you got a big semi, they're going to turn. And I think the goal would be at this point is to keep them from getting in that turning lane, to turn left onto Goodhue off of Sylvania.
And I could simply say from the traffic enforcement part of it that we've had people down there. We've set the speed trailer up there a couple of times. And I'm going back over a year ago now, okay? And in fact, we've even had Sergeant Whalen and some of the community affairs officers, especially Sergeant Whalen, has kind of taken in that upon himself to get down there and monitor that a little bit. As far as the parking in the old Kmart lot, you know, that's private property. We have no authority to tell that owner.
Sure.
And I think it's still owned by, isn't the big CarMax? CarMax owns that, and I mean, you know, somebody, I don't know that they'd be real responsive, but they're the only ones that I know of that could say, hey, no more parking in our lot or whatever. But we don't have the authority to do that. But we'll continue to watch it, monitor it. I was somewhat hopeful that maybe the traffic volume would be reduced, okay, as a result of the completion of the construction on Central Avenue. But it sounds like that has not been the case. But as far as traffic volume, as you know, we deal with that on a lot of complaints. Elmwood, any number of streets. We can't control traffic volume. It's a public roadway, and there may be a whole lot of traffic up and down that street, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Stop signs, speed bumps.
Well, I think that's up to the county, isn't it? I mean, we don't have...
There's a petition about it. What happened?
There's a petition, and it moved forward, and they have to do a traffic study on that. So that is with the county at this time. It's part of the traffic study they'll do this year, and basically do a count, and it has to meet the requirements. If you received a copy of that, if not, I can provide you a copy of that petition. And there's requirements for the speed hump installation. There's input from fire and EMS and police as well, but it does have to meet the minimum requirements for, and that's a basic traffic count, a daily traffic count, and the average traffic speed up and down that road. So the study doesn't really take into account semi-traffic or anything like that. It's just a count of vehicles. But that has moved forward.
Is there any way we could put a sign where they should be turning on eastbound Central? Because I think that's the point. Once they miss their turn, this is kind of inevitable. I mean, they're stuck. What are they going to go all the way down to Sylvania and then turn around at, you know, what parking lot or what are they going to use to remedy that? Is there a way we could signal them before they miss that to say, you know, deliveries to, or whatever? I think this is going to keep reoccurring wherever the trucks go next. If it's down, you know, to one of the business parks down there that they're turning around in at a cul-de-sac, or or what, but once they miss that turn, they've got to go somewhere. These plans look great on paper.
I can try and set up a meeting with the traffic engineer and the ODOT engineer and Ron Myers, express to him your concerns, the residents' concerns, and maybe see what kind of options they can offer. As far as Central Avenue, that would have to be all ODOT related, so we'll get them involved, and like I said, Ron Myers from the Lucas County Engineers, and see between the two of them how we can best maneuver this, these restrictions along there. Like I said, I have seen it and I followed it myself. A lot of them that do miss it, they do circle back around, go down to Sylvania Avenue, come back up McCord Road, and either find their location on Fairbanks, off of Fairbanks, or they're actually looking to go a different direction altogether. So that's all I have to offer until we can discuss it with them. That's both those roads are their jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
With that, I would like to offer a motion to go into executive session at 5:55.
For the reasons?
Oh, yes.
For personnel, appointment, fire department, contract negotiation for fire and road departments.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
That weekend, but he's kind of got your mind. I mean, he's
Our
good
tape's
with
on,
hands
guys.
and building stuff. And sorry.
Ready?
Well, that's okay, I just like,
Yes, thank you for that notification.
like that.
I'd like to offer a motion to come out of executive session at 7:03.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes. And with no actions being taken, I would like to offer a motion to adjourn at 7:03 as well.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks, John.
Good meeting.